mega donor from Morgan and Morgan, went on Fox News, so he didn't just go on Chris Cuomo. He also went on Fox News, and then he went back on Chris Cuomo to have a conversation about Kamala Harris and whether or not she'll ever be able to run again. I will admit I am one of the people that said that I anticipated her being a Christmas gift and making sure that the Republicans stay in party in 2028 and 2026 and her running for president of the United States of America again. But now I'm not so sure after people like this are saying what they're saying. Check it out.
John Morgan is the founder of Morgan & Morgan and a former major Democratic donor. John, I was thrilled to have you tonight, and I wanted you to react to this. This was reporting out of Politico about what Kamala Harris was doing in Hawaii. Privately, the vice president has been instructing advisors and allies to keep her options open, whether for a possible 2028 presidential run or even to run as governor in the state of California in 2 years, as Harris has repeated in phone calls, "I am staying in the fight." Your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is, she thinks she's Obama. She goes to Hawaii because Obama goes to Hawaii. She started talking like Obama, imitating Obama. She is not Barack Obama. She has no talent. She can never run for president again.
Jesus.
She ran once and got 0 delegates. She got 8% of California. I begged them not to put her up. She was going to be tethered to Biden no matter what. That was a zero-sum game for her. But she thought that all these votes were for her. They were not. The votes that she got were people voting against Trump. And the votes that Trump got were the people voting for Trump. What the Harris campaign should have done, instead of avoiding Joe Rogan and podcast, it turns out that Barron Trump, who looks like a runway model, was telling his father, you need to go on podcast. You need to go on Joe Rogan. He was 3 hours late to a rally because he was doing Joe Rogan because that was so important. So Barron Trump is a lot smarter than everybody in the Harris. They said they didn't go on Joe Rogan, the progressives around her. You heard what Carville said. The progressives didn't want to go on Joe Rogan. Look, if I'm running, I'm going on Joe Rogan. I'm living on Fox. That's how you change minds. They played hide the ball. They lost badly. She should go away and never, ever come back. She spent almost $2 billion. They're raising money this week to pay off the debt. If you can't run your campaign, you damn sure can't run the country.
If that isn't one of the most scathing reality checks within the Democratic Party from a heavy Democratic donor, I don't know what is. And that is true. That when you start to, and I've been looking at a lot of Kamala Harris campaign staffers and top aides and people that's run her Instagram and her TikTok and all of that, and they've been talking about what they got going wrong and how they should have did things differently and what was really happening inside of the camp and all of that stuff. When you pay attention to some of that stuff that's happening and what's being communicated, and the fact that Barron Trump on the low hasn't even been visible, hasn't talked or anything, but people are basically saying that he was the person that was advising his father on how he should move when it came to picking and choosing where he was going to spend his time. He was right. He was absolutely right. And this is why you can't always just go based off of experience. You got to have that instinct. You got to have that thing in you that pay attention to certain people that add value into your life. I will tell you personally, and I mention this all the time and I always talk about it, that one of the most meaningful people that I always check in with, and not because, I'm just so great or whatever like that, but because she 100% has a pulse, a hand on the pulse of every single thing that's meaningful in my life, is my daughter. My 16-year-old daughter is a person that I regularly check in with, and I'll be like, hey, let me run something by you really quickly. What do you think about this? And she is so brutally honest, and she just tells me what her thoughts are. And I'm telling you, 10 times out of 10, she is 100% accurate. Hey, so let me run something by you real quick. So everybody been telling me this, but I want to get your thoughts on it. Tell me what you think and be honest with me. Does this make sense? What would you do, or how do you see this? She'd be like, Dad, don't listen to that. This is gonna mess up. That's gonna mess up. Listen, if you're gonna do it, do this way, do it that way, or whatever, so on and so forth. And I'd be like, and she talked to me, and she breaks it down very simply, and she just a straight shooter, and she tells me the truth, and it every single time it works. Every single time. She'd be like, ah. And sometimes she'll be like, let me think about that for a second. She go in her room, she think about it, she come out 15 minutes later, she's like, yeah, this one is the one that you want to go with because this is why it makes sense. And she'll add the context and explain it. And I'll sit on it and I'll be like, yep, I'm rolling with that. Got all these other people around and all of that, and they saying all of this stuff every single time. Every time I have to make a major decision, I always check on my daughter and I say, what do you think about this? Let me run this by you real quick. Own it. Own it, own it, own it. And sometimes you don't need a whole team of advisors that's getting paid a bunch of money that want to keep their job. You just need somebody that authentically wants the best for you to tell you the truth that also has a pulse on what's happening out here in these streets. Every time. And he's right. He's right. Barron Trump, whereas Kamala Harris's whole team was saying, don't do it, don't do this. She absolutely made the wrong missteps. Went over there on All the Smoke, went on Shannon Sharp, killed their podcast. And then meanwhile, Donald Trump was 3 hours late to a rally because he was sitting there talking to Joe Rogan, which was one of the most meaningful things that he did during his campaign.
John, that is the most honest assessment, and I think the most accurate one I've heard from a Democrat so far. And I'm curious for you, as you move forward as a party, who's the future of your party?
Well, somebody says, why does Anton depend on Fox News for his information? Interesting. Apparently, you must be new here because I use everything. I use MSNBC. I use local news stations. I use CNN. I reference different things. I go in and I do my own research, but I use these as reference points to jump off certain conversations because these are the things that's popular and these are the things that's being communicated in popular culture. So apparently you knew here because we use everything. We use CNBC, we use Fox Business, we use Fox News, we use CNN, we use MSNBC, we use local news TV stations, we use News Nation, we use everything, any piece of information that we use Politico, we use Yahoo Finance, we use Bloomberg, we use every single thing, Market Watch, anything that we can get our hands on that then forces us to do a little bit more research and then leapfrog off of that information in order to have an opinion is absolutely what we use. And so if this man is a mega donor and I did research on who he is, and he is a mega donor, and he went on News Nation and he went on Chris Cuomo, and then he goes on Fox News and he's communicating what he's saying and what's happening at the White House after Kamala Harris's loss and what was happening within the campaign. 100% I'm going to use him as a source. I don't care what channel that he's on. Don't focus so much on that. Focus on what we having a conversation about. That's how easy y'all get finessed. Don't focus on that. Focus on what we talking about, okay?
My future, look, I'm a Bill Clinton Democrat. And each year that's gone by, I've been pushed further and further and further out. The squad, defund the police, woke, it pushes people like me. I am not a democratic socialist. I was a Democrat with a capital C, capitalist. And I now am a registered independent because I cannot abide that business. And look, I love Joe Biden. I think he did a great job. If you look at the record, I know a lot of you all disagree, but objectively, I think history is going to be good to him. But Joe Biden is the end of my line with Democrats because of the Harrises of this world and the progressives pushing her to not go on Joe Rogan. That's where she should have been. Just where Barron Trump told his dad to go and all the other podcasts. So that's where I am today. I'm more for people than party. In Florida, I ran 2 amendments. I legalized medical marijuana and I raised the minimum wage. Had to get 60% of the vote. We did. You know why? Most of us agree on most things when you take the DNR down. So I would say to the squad and the defund the police crowd, mission accomplished. I'm out.
That is the absolute worst thing that you could ever do to people that support your party, is to alienate them so much with agendas that your big donors and your biggest supporters say, you know what, this is not the part. This is, honestly, to be honest with you, forget the big donor part. I believe this is what happened to most people that were a part of the Democratic Party. If they hadn't been so left, far reaching left, they then have a stronger base, because the reality is that even people that supported the Democratic Party, they say, this is not the party that my parents was in. This is not the party that my grandparents are in. Most of us agree on certain things, but then when we become so far removed, when the agenda becomes so much that we hate what the current version of Republican Party is, that we now support men going in women's bathrooms, we now support illegal immigration, I see Democrats remain completely silent when it comes to immigration. That is not something that's supposed to be divisive across party lines. It's supposed to be something that we all agree on. Okay, listen, you got the border shored up. We got the border shored up. All right, listen, we may differ on certain political agendas or certain things when it comes to the division between Democrats and Republicans, but this is not one of them. I mean, I think that most Democrats are supposed to agree. Yeah, man, we don't want our borders open to anybody just walking in. We want people to be able to come in here legally so that they can be vetted and we can make sure that we get the right people here and get the best and brightest. It's not that Republicans are against migrants coming into the country. They're against illegal immigration. That shouldn't be something that should be a party line issue. You see what I'm saying? It's like they become so extreme that they basically are pushing people out of their own party. Even people that traditionally supported Democrats is like, you know what? You're forcing you're forcing my hand. Because Democrats are capitalists too. Democrats are capitalists also. What do you mean defund the police? Why would you be saying defund the police? That is the dumbest. And then everybody else jumped on board because it was a good slogan or it sounded good rolling off your tongue. Defund the police. What? Why would I want crime in my area? That's the very thing that I grew up trying to get away from. That sounds dumb. And then you got these idiots that's out here painting the streets that they never paid any taxes to make sure that the streets is getting paved in the first place, painting Black Lives Matters on the streets. They politicized everything. And so ultimately, they pushed away their core base, not just the mega donors, but also the people that was out here supporting you that is not extreme left. I'm sorry, sir. I think you should be able to do what you want to do inside of your own bedroom, inside of your own household. Bust it down. Have a poly relationship. Be with man and woman. I may not necessarily agree with you, but I'm not going to go against your fundamental right and freedom. Why you got to come in the girls' bathrooms too? It's almost like you give them an inch and they took a mile. This is what happened to Democrats, and this is the honest to God truth. You gave them an inch and then they kicked in your door. You said, all right, so listen, fam, I'll give you something to eat. And then they followed you home, they kicked in your door, and then they robbed you and said, this is our house now, we squatting here. Okay, so cool. Have sex with who you want to have sex with, date who you want to date, kiss who you want to kiss. We don't care. But why are you putting it inside of our books? Why are we using taxpayer dollars to fund gender affirmation changes inside of the prisons? Why would we fund gender sex changes on taxpayer dime for prisoners? Are y'all stupid? What are you doing? Why would you go so extreme? And again, I don't even have anything against Democrats. I have everything against the Democratic plantation and party, because I understand that people have different reasons for why they vote, and your circumstances may be different than my circumstances, and your state may be different than my state. But why are we using taxpayer dollars to put illegal migrants inside of hotels and then making sure that our cities are basically going broke to do so? That is a luxury. That is not something that we're supposed to do. Why would you give them food stamps and cards and allow for them to come over here unvetted illegally, and then they killing American citizens, and then they using taxpayer dollars to do it, but your city is going into a deficit? How can you justify that? You didn't realize that that was going to be one of the upendings of your whole campaign, that we was going to bring that up once election season came up? Are you stupid? And it's like they've alienated everybody to the point to where they basically just killed the party. They killed the party. It's like even people that are hardcore Democrats was like, yeah, I don't want to say nothing because I don't want to go against my candidate. But yeah, that's a little rough. That's a little rough. Yeah, you know what? Well, I don't know why why they taking our money and giving it to illegal migrants? Why they paying in California? Why would they spend $600,000 per unit for permanent homeless housing? Why would they spend $185 million on Skid Row? That don't make no sense. That's stupid. It's like, what are y'all doing? I don't understand it. Eric D say no, the party. No, I don't think so. I don't think so, Eric D. They don't have anything to run on. They don't have anything to run on. The only people that still vote Democrat largely is doing it because that's just what they used to doing, not because they actually stand. I don't think that most Democrats stand for most of the issues that you think that they stand for. I don't think that they have anything else to run on.